Good morning, my fellow small business owners. So, if you guys remember last week, we talked about 1099 and why it is so important for you to issue 1099 before the end of the month. I'm recording this in January 2024. And you need to really issue those 1099s before the end of the month because if you don't, then you will hit some penalties. For this year, it's about $60 per 1099, and then it goes up from there. And you can watch that video if you want to learn about penalties and your due dates and all that. But basic rule of thumb is it's $60 per 1099, at least to begin with. And then, like I said, it goes up from there. And the 1099s are due at the end of the month. But then there was some follow-up questions that some of you guys sent me, and they were interesting. So I thought probably would make more sense to do another session and talk a little bit more deeply about some of those topics. So one of those questions came whether somebody is 1099 or they should be W-2. No. So which form you file does not define how an employee should be classified. This is really for more like you're reporting to IRS as to who received the payment. It's nothing to do with classification. You, as an employer, are responsible for classifying your employee. So, if, for example, if you misclassify somebody as a 1099 and they were supposed to be a W-2, your employee not going to get penalties. You are going to get penalties. So, it's very important that you classify, properly. And I'm going to talk about how detailed these classifications are. Now, some states are easier than the other, but I'm going to focus on the state of Texas and state of California because those two are the ones that are very, very stringent with 1099 definitions. And I think other states probably going to follow their advice as well because they already have uh, well-written rules relates to 1099. So please stay with me if you're a business owner because this one video can save you a lot of headache. And after watching the video, don't be surprised if you find a couple of people that you thought were 1099 are actually W-2 employees. Now, being a 1099 obviously comes with a lot of benefits for somebody who is receiving a 1099, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. That's a topic for another day. All right. Before I get started, I just want to remind everyone a few things that are coming up. Number one, we have our remember that business opportunity we were talking about the earlier in the small business group about the preschool kids franchise in India. So I will be bringing their CEO to discuss as to what that model looks like. So those of you guys who are interested in setting up that franchise, you might want to talk to him. So that's probably going to happen this Friday or Saturday, one of those two days. And on that topic, by the way, if you have a good business opportunity that you would like to bring to our audience, please reach out to me, and I'll see if I can. If we think our people have interest in it, I'll be happy to interview you as well. Number two, we have our financial outlook call that is going to be happening next Friday. Then we have a real estate outlook call that will be happening the following Friday. And then in the month of February, we have a live seminar that is scheduled to be in Milpitas, California. We'll be focused all the time on taxes that day. And then we have live seminars coming up in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, and perhaps even in North Carolina. So some of the things that are planned out for the month of February. So just wanted to kind of lay out that agenda for you for next 6 weeks. So stay in touch. If you want to know when those dates are, follow me on WhatsApp. That's how I post all my updates there. Or you can go to our website, taxcodeadvisors.com, or if you're in California, go to sanjeevcpa.com, and you can learn about what's going on with us. Okay, so let's get started with this 1099 issue. So first question I have for you is, are you training your 1099 contractor? If you are providing them any kind of training or inviting them to a training meeting, they can be potentially classified as a W-2 employee. Why? Well, very simple. Employees are often trained by a more experienced employer, or sometimes employees are required to attend those training meetings. However, a 1099 contractor should be training themselves. You are not the one who will be training them. They are the one who will be taking their own courses. They're paying from their own pockets for that training. So be very careful if you require a 1099 contractor to join a training meeting at your company. Now, this one is gonna, I think, is very, very tricky because I think this second one, I see a lot of time people making mistakes. Integration. Okay. An independent contractor services are usually separate from the client's business and not integrated or merged into the client business. So, for example, let's say if you're a W 2 employee, so services of an employee are usually merged into the firm's overall operation. The firm's success depends on those employees performing. But independent contractor, they're just providing some additional services. They are not core to your business. So if you have an employee that, producing uh, revenue for you, or they are producing research for you, or they are doing something substantial that your company's existence depend on it, or your company is making money off it, or your company would not survive without it, then there's a good chance that that person should be classified as a W-2 employee, not as a contractor. Third one, services rendered personally. A true independent contractor is able to assign another person to do the job on their behalf. So, for example, we are a tax firm, you hire us, but I don't have to personally do your tax returns. I can hire somebody else who works under my supervision to do your tax returns. And once that job is done, maybe I do consulting with you, maybe I review it, maybe you and me have a discussion, make sure it's done right, make sure it's done properly. But you cannot hold me responsible for personally doing the data entry or doing the calculations. It's my choice. Who do I hire? And by the way, while don't get me started on that, the problem with that also is a lot of time tax firms is outsource your tax returns to a foreign country. Now, I don't have a problem with that. We have a lot of clients who work out of different countries, and I love those people. I think everybody should be able to participate in global economy. But the problem happens when somebody outsources your tax return without letting you know. So you think you're getting a price X because a company in the US is doing your job, but that's not true. So I always recommend all my clients to always ask whoever you're doing business with if that business will be done in the United States or if that would be outsourced. I think you should have a right to know that. That way you can properly make a proper decision. And that's why whenever you do anything with the third party vendor, who are running their own businesses, in this case, 1099 contractors, they should have a flexibility to hire someone anywhere in the world. And you, as a customer, can request that information. You have a right to know that, especially if it's a service business. You're sending out your tax return, it has your social, it has your date of birth, it has your kids' information, it has your financial information. Imagine if somebody wanted to do a fraud, how they can utilize that information. It's a scary situation. So I always tell clients to watch out for that. Now, other services, getting a website built, or having them do some IT work or sales work, I'm okay with that. Personal financial information, I'm just a little bit sensitive to that, and I recommend my clients to be careful with that as well. If there's someone great that you trust and they do a good work, and you think your information is safe and secured with them, then go for it. No problem there. Just pointing that out. So, an employee services must be rendered personally. Employee cannot delegate, their spouse to come do the work for them. You can't, if you're a W-2 employee, you can't say, look, I'm not going to go to work today. I'm just going to send my spouse to do the work on my behalf, or I'm going to hire somebody else to go do work for me. So, and why I say that? So let's say you hire a contractor, and it's the same contractor that's always showing up to your company. It's the same guy always, right? That can be a potential sign of them being a W-2 employee. Now, by itself, it doesn't mean a whole lot, by the way. So you got to look at the overall picture. And that's when companies determine whether that person should be a contractor or W-2. So don't take just one rule and go like, oh, oh my God, I had this guy. He's the same one who's coming up every single day. It must be a 1099 W-2 employee. No, hold on. Don't get worried too much about it. We're going to get into details. Like I said, yeah, they're coming, but are you really training them? Is your business dependent on them? Maybe they come once a month to do some maintenance and move on. If they don't come 1 month, your business is not going to fall apart. So just hold on there. Okay. So we talked about training so far. We talk about how important they are to your business. We talk about, whether they are providing the services personally or they're hiring somebody else to provide those services. Next one, hiring, supervising, and paying. Very important. So let's think about it. An employee may act as a foreman for the employer, but if so, helpers are paid with the employer's fund, meaning the employer is paying for the employee's services. On the other hand, independent contract can select, hire, and pay and supervise anyone they like. They can hire, whoever they want and pay for their services from their own pocket. They're not asking you to pay. So this is where it gets really, really, really tricky, right? So let's say you ask me that, hey, can you provide me an accountant who can do my bookkeeping? And I want them to show up to my work and I'm going to pay them directly. I'm going to pay for them. I'm going to supervise them. I'm going to tell them what time they're going to come to work. They're going to work on my computer. Guess what? They're no longer my employee. They are now your employee. However, if you let me make all those decisions, then they are a 1099 contractor for you. So all of those things come into play. Relationship. What kind of relationship do you have with these people? Let's think about an employee. So employee works for a company months, year after year. But what about a contractor? Does the contractor works for you forever? You know, you know, if there is the same guy working for you for last 10 years, and like I said, all the other factors are in there too. But the longer they stay with you, there's more chance they can be considered a W-2 employee rather than a 1099 contractor. But once again, don't rely on that rule by itself. You have to kind of see it together with all the other. I'm just trying to point out if the state is investigating you for whether somebody should be a W-2 employee or a 1099 contractor, these are the factors they'll be looking at. Now, I'm not making these up, by the way. I'm getting these directly from Texas.gov. So they are, and the reason why I picked Texas is because California 1099 contracting laws are taken from the Texas one. So Texas is the one who is really stringent with this, and then California kind of came on board with it. So that's why I'm reading these out to you. So be careful. You can go on twc.texas.gov and type in unemployment tax or classifying employees, independent contractor, one of those two keywords, and you'll find the exact details of this stuff. So let's go on. Hours. Like I said, hours are important. Employees come in 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock or noon till 8 or whatever. Like they have set number of hours. 1099 contractors, they don't. They come whenever they want. They go whenever they want. They do work the way they like to take care of that stuff. You have no control over them. So if you're controlling their hours when they work, that can be classified as a W-2 employee. Okay. Employees devote full-time services to the employer, sometimes part-time, but they're not really doing it for multiple people. So maybe if I'm part-time, maybe I work for one company, maybe another, maybe three companies at the most. But independent contractors, they work maybe 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000 companies all at once. So be careful. The person working for you, are you the only one working, or there are other people? Now, where are they providing the services? Are they coming to your location, or they're working out of their own location? Do they have an office? Maybe it could be even home office. I don't mind that. But there's a better chance of them being classified as a 1099 contractor if they're working out of their premises instead of yours. Now, in post-COVID world, that's a little bit tricky because there are many people who work out of their home. So be very careful with that. And at the bare minimum, don't try to pay them for their office. That should be their own expense. If you're trying to pay them for their office, once again, that will show like they are your W-2 employees. Sequence, how they work. For example, let's just say tax business. How is taxes done? Taxes are done very simple. We take your bank statements, we take your credit card statements, and then we go through your books, and then based on that, we produce your tax return. Now, let's say I'm an independent contractor, which I am for you guys. It's my choice which bank statement I'm going to tackle first, which one I'm going to do next. Maybe I do the easiest one first. Maybe I do the hardest one first. It's my choice. Maybe I do it with the um, QuickBooks on my desktop. Maybe I use online QuickBooks. Maybe I do it myself. Maybe I have my employee do it. I have full control over how I'm going to render my services to you. However, if you hire somebody or you have a misclassified somebody as a 1099 contractor and you're saying, hey, look, today I need you to work on this credit card statement. I want you to use this computer. I want you to use this software. I want you to do it from this location. I want you to do it at this time. You do those kind of instructions. Now you're looking that employee as a W-2 employee, not as 1099 contractor. Are you asking these people to provide you with reports? No, independent contractor is not required to submit regular reports to you. But W-2 employees, you can ask them. You can say, I want you to tell me what's happened at the end of the day or next morning. You know, now does that mean you cannot request reports from your 1099 contractors? Of course you can. Of course you can, but they won't be regular. Maybe uh, every 2 weeks they give you, maybe every month they give you, but they won't be so consistent. Like you can't force them to give you that report. And the format of the report is not chosen by you either. That will be chosen by the contractor as well. How are you paying that person? Now you can pay somebody hourly wages. You can pay somebody based on job. But think about it. W-2 employees typically are paid, flat monthly fees or by the hour. 1099 contractors are usually paid by the job. So that's a very clear cut. So, and that's why I keep bringing up, you can't just look at things as just one criteria. You have to look at it as an overall picture. Because is it possible that you pay 1099 contractor by the hourly? Of course. Many attorneys charge by the hours. There are some CPAs, accountants charge by the hours. There are some consultants charged by the hours. Shoot, I charge by the hours. So if you want to do consulting with me, I charge you by the hours. So, um, charging by the hours is not wrong. That can apply to both. But think about it. The employee would, when you hire somebody, you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna give you 20 hours a week, and you pay them 20 hours a week for a very, very long time, as long as they stay with the company. But contractor, those hours should be changing. Because it's not a flat amount. So if you're paying them flat amount every time, that now if you're paying by the job, then that's okay. But if it's like hourly, like hey, every month it's the same hours, then that can also show that you're W-2 employee. So just be very, I keep bringing it up. Your employee is not on the hook. You as an employer is on the hook. So you need to be 100% sure whether they're W-2 or 1099. Now, let's say you go to a CPA or your tax professional and you discuss all these ideas, and you say, that person is, 1099 or W-2, either way. Well, I guess if you classify somebody as W-2, you're not in trouble. You typically get in trouble if you classify somebody as 1099. But I keep bringing it up. Responsibility will always fall back on you, not on your accountant or tax professional. So please, you have to kind of know these rules. That's why, hear me out, listen to the everything I have to say, and then kind of decide. Okay. How are you paying them for travel? Are you paying them for travel? Independent contractors usually buy their own tickets. They write it off in their own profit and loss statements. On the other hand, employees are usually reimbursed. If you ask an employee to go do some job for you, and maybe they paid for their Uber or Lyft or airplane, either you buy the tickets for them or they submit a receipt to you and you reimburse them. But either way, that's the difference, whether you're paying or the contractor pay. So I guess the more the contractor pays, the more it looks like a separate business. The more you pay, it looks like you're doing. Now, one or two time, maybe not a big deal, but the more you do it, it starts to look more like a W-2 employee. Tools and equipments. Like I said earlier, whose computer are they using? Whose tools are they using? Whose premises are they using? Are important. Employees, you have to provide the tools. You got to provide them a computer. You're providing them the internet. You're providing them everything they need to do their job. But 1099 contractor, they don't. They provide all their stuff on their own. Investments. Independent contractors are making substantial investments into their business. W2 employees are not. So that's another thing. So if you're providing them everything and the person is not making any investment into their business, into their training, into their marketing, into their sales, into their operations, into their finance, into growing their company, treating it like a business, once again, they start to look more like a W-2 employees. Profit and loss. Independent contractors can either have profit or they can have a loss. They have a risk. W-2 employees don't have a risk. They always get paid no matter what. So another simple factor for you to figure out whether they are taking a risk or not. Are they working for more than one employee, or they're exclusively working for you? The more employees they work for you, the more they look like a 1099 contractors. And if they're only working with you, they're more looking like a W-2 employee. Okay. Are their services available to general public? So if they don't have any website, they're not promoting themselves, they're just really only providing services for you, and once again, looks like a W-2 employees. But if they have a website, they're going out, they're making phone calls, they're doing marketing, they're doing sales, they're taking on other clients, they're publicly available out there, then they are a business. You're gonna, if somebody asks you, let me go check out their YouTube. Deepak is not a. So be careful with that. Just make sure you when you hire these 1099 contractors, check out their website. Don't just